don't trust nobody. In Hollywood, specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City and California.
People I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in some...
Sean Diddy Combs isn't just serving time. He's sitting on a time bomb. And according to his former bodyguard, Gene Deal, that bomb is a secret archive of videos featuring Hollywood's biggest names in compromising situations. Now, as Combs rots in a Brooklyn prison cell, insiders say he's not just angry, he's plotting revenge. The claim has sent tremors through an industry already shaken by months of legal fallout. If Deal's story is even partly true, those tapes could detonate careers across music, politics, and film in a matter of seconds. And for the first time since his sentencing, we're hearing that Diddy might actually be ready to press the button himself.
He did a whole lot to a whole lot of people, and now he's paying for it. So all these cats, I guess y'all get y'all visitation rights. Some of y'all can get y'all conjugal visits right with them. I don't give.
The facts are ugly. In July 2025, a federal jury convicted Combs on 2 counts of violating the Mann Act, a century-old law that forbids transporting anyone across state lines for what prosecutors called immoral purposes. He was sentenced to 50 months in prison and fined $500,000. The judge described the case as the end of a criminal enterprise, built on control, intimidation, and filmed encounters that blurred the line between private pleasure and evidence collection. Those encounters allegedly formed part of the so-called freak-off culture that had already destroyed his reputation long before the verdict. During the raids in March and again that summer, agents from the FBI and Department of Homeland Security stormed Combs' LA mansion, a 10-bedroom, 13-bath sprawl valued at $61.5 million. According to court filings, they seized over 1,000 bottles of baby oil, assorted recording equipment, and what investigators labeled freak-off supplies. The imagery of it, a federal team carrying boxes of lubricant and cameras out of the home of one of hip-hop's richest men, cemented Diddy's downfall in the public imagination. But for those who'd worked close to him, it raised a darker question. What happened to the recordings themselves?
There was a lot of stuff that came out in the trial that the judge knew about it, so the judge couldn't just let him walk out of there with nothing. But the judge and them, listen here, bro. The judge and them gave him, not gave him, but let him off.
That's where Gene Deal enters the story. The former bodyguard who protected Combs in the late 90s and early 2000s has been hinting for years that his ex-boss maintained a private archive. In one recent interview, Deal remarked offhand that Diddy got everything on tape. At the time, it sounded like bravado, but now, sources close to Deal claim he's telling people behind closed doors that Combs kept those tapes not as trophies, but as insurance. Allegedly, everyone who attended his infamous parties, from chart-topping artists to film stars, was caught on camera at one point or another. And with Diddy now facing years in federal custody, insiders believe those recordings have become his last card to play. What makes the story even more explosive is the timing. Just days before Trump's comments about being approached for a presidential pardon, Combs' lawyers filed a formal request to transfer him out of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. They asked that he be moved to FCI Fort Dix, a low-security federal prison in New Jersey. On paper, the reasoning looked harmless: family visitation and rehabilitative efforts. Attorney Tenny Garagos wrote to the court that Fort Dix's substance treatment program would help Combs address substance issues and maximize family visitation. But the paperwork told another story.
Bankman-Fried were in the unit that was 1 floor above mine. So in terms of like the setting, it's a fairly decent chance that the room I'm describing is similar to where Diddy is. Yeah.
Court documents show that even after serving his time, Combs will remain under 5 years of supervised release. He'll have to attend mental health treatment, domestic violence counseling, and regular substance testing. His home, car, and devices can be searched at any moment, and he'll be forbidden from contacting any of his former associates who've been linked to criminal misbehavior. The conditions are so strict, they all but ensure he'll be monitored until 2030. So why is he fighting to leave Brooklyn now? Why the sudden push toward Fort Dix, a facility where, according to former inmates, violence and gang activity are part of daily life?
He got let off easy. And don't get me wrong, bro. I don't want to see a black man in jail. I don't want to see a black man in jail. but I don't care nothing about Diddy.
We've seen the letters. The same man who called the Metropolitan Detention Center inhumane in a handwritten plea to the judge now wants to enter a prison that ex-convicts warn is far more volatile. Joe Giudice, who once served time there, told Fox News that Fort Dix is no walk in the park. Knife fights, extortion, and racial tension are common. Yet, Combs' legal team insists it's about rehabilitation. The contradiction doesn't add up, especially given what insiders are saying about who else might be behind those walls. A source familiar with the Bureau of Prisons says the Fort Dix facility has quietly become a meeting ground for high-profile inmates who still hold leverage over the outside world. Unlike the isolated special housing unit in Brooklyn, Fort Dix has looser restrictions on correspondence and visitation. Letters can move faster, conversations can happen in person, and messages can slip out under the guise of family communication. In other words, it's a better environment for negotiation. And that's exactly what people close to Diddy believe he's planning.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate."
Behind the scenes, rumors have started swirling that Diddy's team has already begun cataloging what he referred to in old conversations as his vault. The speculation traces back to a 2014 security contractor who claims he once delivered hard drives from Combs' Los Angeles property to a private storage unit in Miami. Those drives, according to him, were labeled with celebrity initials and coded dates. No one could confirm what was on them, but given what prosecutors revealed about Diddy's obsession with filming his freak-offs, the implication is hard to ignore. Meanwhile, the attempt to clean up his public image has stalled. Earlier this month, President Trump confirmed that Combs had asked for a pardon, adding, "A lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy. He has asked me for a pardon." A representative for Combs refused to comment, but the timing suggests a man desperate for leverage. The pardon conversation reportedly came just days after federal agents executed the latest warrant on his digital archives, suggesting Combs may have realized how much the government already has and how much he might still control.
I don't know this, but it just seems very suspicious when you go through and you look at in the history of different people that can make you go away if you know. Listen, I've worried about some of the things that I talk about on my show.
Those close to Gene Deal claim he's been warning people that the Hollywood vault isn't a myth. In one version of the story, Deal told a mutual friend that Diddy recorded nearly every major party at his properties, using hidden security cameras, keeping backup copies abroad. The footage, he allegedly said, includes artists, actors, and even political figures in moments that could end careers overnight. We haven't seen proof, but the suggestion alone has terrified people in the entertainment business. Lawyers from multiple A-list names have reportedly reached out to federal investigators asking whether their clients appear in the seized materials.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on.
All of this would explain why Combs' transfer request to Fort Dix is being interpreted not as a comfort move, but as a power play. Officially, his lawyers cited rehabilitative efforts. Unofficially, they may be seeking proximity to someone or something that can protect what he still holds. Former federal consultant Sam Mangle noted that people with public safety factors like Combs are usually barred from Fort Dix's residential treatment program. So unless he's negotiating a waiver like the one Ghislaine Maxwell once received, the request makes little sense. Unless, of course, the transfer isn't about treatment at all. Because if Diddy's really sitting on hours of unreleased footage implicating half of Hollywood, Fort Dix wouldn't just be another prison assignment, it would be neutral ground, a bargaining table disguised as a correctional facility. And as one insider close to his circle whispered this week, the man once known for controlling every room he entered may soon be controlling one more from behind bars. Because if those tapes exist, Fort Dix isn't just a prison, it's a bargaining chip. And he's about to play it. While Diddy's lawyers were pushing for that prison transfer, something else was happening behind the scenes, something the public wasn't supposed to see. Leaked correspondence from inside the Metropolitan Detention Center revealed that Sean Combs had described his living conditions as inhumane. comparing the cell's airless heat and contaminated food to a slow punishment beyond his sentence. The timing of the leak was uncanny, landing just as his appeal was denied in early October 2025. Judge Arun Subramanian didn't just reject his plea for leniency, he used the opportunity to remind the world who Combs had become. In court, the judge called his pattern of control and humiliation subjugation, adding that he still poses a danger. But here's the question no one's asking. If the man is so dangerous, why is he begging to be moved to a facility where violence is part of daily routine?
Concussion. And so I'm coming down with the concussion, the drugs, my brain really not working well. They assigned me a bunk, top bunk, center of the room, right under these fluorescent lights. And that little tiny strip was my only bit of like turf in the world. I had a little locker off to the side, but that bunk under the fluorescents in the middle of that room, sound coming up everywhere.
Insiders familiar with the Bureau of Prisons claim that Combs' team isn't just asking for a transfer to Fort Dix, they're demanding a package deal. The list allegedly includes a private cell, expanded visitation rights, and access to a special substance treatment program known as RDAP, which is normally off limits to anyone with his type of conviction. One source described it as a request that raised eyebrows all the way to Washington. The whispers started almost immediately. Maybe Diddy isn't just trying to survive prison. Maybe he's setting up something bigger, a command center, a place where his lawyers, associates, and loyalists could operate beyond the strict isolation of Brooklyn. In theory, Fort Dix could become his new office, a base for whatever leverage he's planning to unleash next.
In the moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this a test?
Meanwhile, Hollywood's elite are getting nervous, and for good reason. Cassie Ventura's testimony during the trial painted a picture that few in the entertainment world want to revisit. She told the jury about the so-called freak-off gatherings, those infamous nights where Diddy allegedly filmed intimate acts involving his partners and paid male participants, often under the influence of heavy substances. Prosecutors confirmed that he kept archives of those encounters, sometimes replaying them to humiliate or intimidate. Cassie said he once threatened to release footage of her after an argument, a claim that investigators later backed with security logs and recovered digital fragments. If those tapes exist, and if Diddy's truly holding onto them as protection, then every name, every face, every handshake in those years of Hollywood decadence is suddenly part of his potential bargaining power. That's why we're seeing what insiders call the panic sweep. Lawyers for several well-known entertainers have reportedly contacted federal prosecutors, quietly asking whether their clients appear in the confiscated materials. Some names being whispered are surprising: artists, actors, even financiers with political ties. One industry veteran said, "You'd be shocked who showed up at those parties." It's not that everyone was involved in wrongdoing, but in Diddy's world, just being there could be enough to destroy a career if a clip ever surfaced out of context. The very existence of that footage turns speculation into currency, and Diddy has always known how to spend influence better than cash.
He never would have prosecuted him if it was just a manic.
They prosecuted him on all these other things, and they did find him guilty of this, so that still counts.
The jurors don't always get it right. We don't have to agree with their decision.
I just don't know because I wasn't sitting in the courtroom. You've got to see the witnesses. Why didn't they believe Cassie? Why didn't they believe Jane?
Consider the financial math. The court hit Combs with a $500,000 fine, a headline number that sounds severe until you remember his estimated fortune still sits around $400 million. $500,000 is pocket change for a man who used to drop that much on a single night in Miami. But leverage? That's priceless. In his circles, information has always been the true currency. That's why the talk of him running operations from Fort Dix doesn't sound far-fetched. According to one former label executive, Combs never did anything without a backup plan. He's not the type to crumble, the source said. If he's boxed in, he'll make the box work for him. Reports from within the detention system suggest he's already networking behind bars. Sources claim that he's been meeting regularly with other high-profile inmates through educational programs, and that messages from those meetings have made their way to the outside. Federal officials haven't confirmed any breaches, but the Bureau of Prisons did acknowledge a recent review of communication protocols at Fort Dix, fueling speculation that Diddy's request for transfer may not be coincidental. It could be strategic, closer to the New York media hub, easier for his lawyers to visit, and, crucially, a place where the right favors could keep him insulated.
The question is he a criminal? Is he basically akin to a mob boss running several criminal enterprises? And while it's very clear to me he is a depraved, disgusting person, We have to prove that he violated the law.
Inside that theory lies a deeper question. What kind of man is Sean Combs now? During his sentencing hearing, he admitted that his time behind bars marked the first period of true sobriety he'd experienced in 25 years. He called his own past disgusting, shameful, and sick, an admission that sounded like repentance but landed more like strategy. For a man who has spent decades shaping narratives, his own, his artists, his rivals, the confession felt less like surrender and more like rebranding. In the eyes of psychologists who study celebrity downfall, such confessions often precede a recalibration of power. Once a figure like Diddy understands the language of guilt, he learns how to weaponize it. Gene Deal's long-standing assertion lingers here. A man who once controlled women through fear and manipulation doesn't simply abandon that instinct, he redirects it. Those who've watched Combs for years describe an individual who equated dominance with identity, who built his empire on the ability to control rooms, reputations, and revenue streams. When that identity collapses, the vacuum left behind becomes dangerous. Without fame, without money flowing freely, the only thing left to control is information. And if the whispers about those recordings are true, control is exactly what he still possesses. The judge's warning reinforces the concern, calling Combs' past behavior subjugation and emphasizing that he still poses a danger wasn't just a moral statement. It was psychological profiling from the bench. Federal evaluators reportedly noted his charisma and strategic intelligence, traits that can either reform or recalibrate into manipulation. Behind prison walls, those same qualities translate into influence. The charm that once filled arenas can now command loyalty among inmates or even guards, giving him social leverage that no court can revoke.
Speaking about all that, so now if he's doing that, and the judge is saying all of the stuff that he did that was wrong, what else? Having security take people, put them up in abandoned buildings and threaten them. The judge had all that information.
What happens when a man who built his life on absolute control loses everything except the one asset that could give it all back? That question defines the tension surrounding his potential move to Fort Dix. The request for a softer prison might seem like a plea for peace, but to those who understand the psychology of power, it reads like preparation. Fort Dix, with its open dormitories and networked inmates, provides an ecosystem where a fallen mogul could quietly rebuild influence, mentoring, financing, persuading, orchestrating. The very structure of the facility could allow him to transform punishment into a new kind of operation. If that's the reality unfolding, Hollywood's nightmare is only beginning. A man, stripped of luxury but fueled by vengeance, doesn't fade into irrelevance. He studies his enemies and waits for the moment to reemerge. The sober version of Diddy, confined and calculating, may be more dangerous than the indulgent one. Every therapy session, every letter from prison, every media leak might not be healing, they could be reconnaissance. If the goal isn't redemption but resurrection, then Fort Dix isn't a detour. It's the first headquarters of whatever comes next.
Did you ever spend time with the guy? Did you ever meet Diddy?
I've met him before, yeah.
How was he?
Very nice guy, very smart, super business. You know, I mean, he's very successful.
We can't ignore how many powerful people suddenly want distance from him. Several longtime collaborators have scrubbed photos, sponsorships have evaporated, and former allies are talking more than ever. But beneath the surface, there's tension. Too many people owe their early success to him. Too many nights in too many mansions are still unaccounted for. Every day that those seized hard drives remain in federal custody, the risk grows that someone will leak. Someone will cut a deal, or someone will panic enough to make a call they can't take back. And if Combs truly has backup copies hidden elsewhere, as Gene Deal has suggested, the balance of power might not be with the government at all. It could still be in his hands. Some insiders are even floating the theory that Diddy's public remorse, the tears in court, the apology to his children, was less about guilt and more about time. Every sympathetic headline buys him another moment to maneuver. Every interview about redemption distracts from what might really be unfolding behind closed doors. A slow-motion negotiation between one man's secrets and an industry's survival. Because in this story, silence is never free. And that brings us to the most unsettling possibility yet. If those tapes, files, and backups ever find their way online, or worse, into the hands of someone looking to cash in, Hollywood won't just face embarrassment. It could face implosion. Careers, marriages, entire brands could collapse overnight. We've seen what happened with lesser scandals. Imagine that multiplied by decades of recorded excess, all tied to one man with nothing left to lose. Because right now, Sean Combs isn't just an inmate. He's a man backed into a corner, armed with information powerful enough to burn the industry that built him. He's watching, waiting, and possibly planning his next move from inside a low-security compound that may soon become the most dangerous address in entertainment. The only question is, who's going to crack first? Let us know what you think down below, because this story is far from over. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and remember, in Hollywood, nothing stays buried forever.